Peace and blessings, and welcome to Search Out the Matter. I'm Jay, and thanks for joining me as I seek the truth of Yah's Word. So, we have studied the progression of the kingdom, and now I want to look into a few parables that serve as warnings. We're going to begin in Matthew 18 with verse 21, the parable of the unforgiving servant. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Yeshua saith unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him which owed him 10,000 talents. But for as much as he had not to pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife, and his children, and all that he had, and payment be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion, and loosed him, and forgave him the debt. But the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pence, and he laid hands on him, and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me what you owe. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet, and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not, but went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry, and came and told unto their Lord all that was done. Then his Lord, after that he had called him, and said unto him, O thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all that debt, because thou desirest me. Shouldest not thou also have had compassion on thy fellow servant, even as I had pity on thee? And his Lord was wroth, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if ye from your hearts forgive not every one his brother their trespasses. So, to put this in perspective, let's look at how much a talent was. So we see here that a talent is worth about 6,000 denarii if it was measured in silver. But if it was gold, it would have been 30 times as much. So 180,000 denarii. Now, if we go over to the parable of the vineyard workers here in Matthew 20, we can see that a denarii or a pence was about a day's wage. So this guy owed 6,000 days. He owed 10,000 talents. And so each talent is about 16 years worth of salary. So multiply that by 10,000, and he owed 164,000 years worth of salary. This is a debt that he could never repay. And I'm pretty sure that his Lord was not going to get that amount out of his wife, his children, and all that he had either. So when the servant fell down and said, have patience with me and I will pay thee all, he was never going to be able to repay that. And that's probably why the Lord was moved with compassion and forgave the debt. He then turns around and goes to somebody who owes him 100 days' wage, which is a payable amount. We're talking 3.5 months, and grabs him by the throat and says, pay me what you owe me. And when he gives the exact same words back to him, he doesn't have compassion on him. He throws him in prison. So this lesson teaches that as you do unto others, it's going to be done unto you. Matthew 5:7 says, Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. And in the Lord's Prayer, he taught us to pray, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtor. So if we walk in unforgiveness and we're praying that prayer, We, by our own words, condemn ourselves, just as this servant has been condemned. So, this is a very stark warning against unforgiveness here. So, the next one I want to look at is in Matthew 22, and this is the parable of the wedding feast, starting with verse 1. And Yeshua answered and spake unto them again by parables, and said, The kingdom of heaven is likened to a certain king, which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding. And they would not come. Again, he sent forth other servants, saying, Tell them which are bidden, Behold, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come into the marriage. But they made light of it and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise. And the remnant took his servants, and entreated them spitefully, and slew them. But when the king heard, he was wroth, and he sent forth his armies, and destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city. Then saith he to his servants, The wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy. Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as you find, bid to the marriage. So those servants went out in the highways, and gathered it together all as many as they found, both bad and good, and the wedding was furnished with guests. And when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. And he saith unto him, Friend, how camest thou in hither not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then said the king to the servants, Bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen. So this parable is first about those who were invited to the wedding but wouldn't come. Now, when you invite somebody to a wedding, you invite them and then you expect them to RSVP so you can know how many people are going to be there. So I would think that these people also agreed to come to the wedding. And in fact, we know that they agreed because this is a parable about Israel and God. And if we go back to Mount Sinai, they said all that that Yahuwah has spoken we will do. So there was an agreement there. But when it came time to come, they wouldn't come. And in fact, they went and slew the servants representing in this parable the prophets. So after they slew the prophets, he sent another round of servants to go out into the highways and gather whomever they could find. And this, of course, represents the nations, the Gentiles being invited. So there's no filter in this invite now. Everybody gets invited, both good and bad. But the filtering comes when the king comes in and sees the guests. Now, from what I've seen in the explanations of this parable is that Eastern kings would provide all of their guests with like a robe to wear, and it would be the same for all the guests. So it wasn't one person gets to wear this and another person gets to wear that. Everybody gets the same thing. So we see a level playing field there. But apparently this guest decided that he didn't need to wear what it was that the king provided. He was just going to go and do his own thing. And that was supposed to be acceptable. But he soon finds out that it is not acceptable. And in 13 it says, Then said the king to the servants, Bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. And then it says, For many are called, but few are chosen. So this serves to warn that you are not able to just do your own thing. And that there is a level playing field for everybody who is invited to the wedding. There are certain expectations that have to be met. So you need to be aware of what those expectations are, first of all, and walk in accordance with them, to not find yourself like this guest that got kicked out of the wedding. Now, the next parable that I want to look at is the parable of the bridesmaids. And this one was actually troublesome for me because I just couldn't, I wasn't making the connection with it, because it just seems to be like a very obvious, straightforward parable. So let's read it. Verse 1. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps, and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you, but go ye rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him into the marriage, and the door was shut. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. Watch therefore, for ye neither know the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. So, in my study of the ancient Hebrew wedding, I learned that after the father selects a bride for his son, the son goes back to his father's house, and he basically like sets up a room in his father's house, and that is where he and his bride will live. So once everything is set up, and at the time that the father deems appropriate, the son goes back to the bride's parents' house and brings her to the new house. So there's a bunch of fanfare involved. There's a messenger who goes before the groom and yells that the groom is coming. So from the perspective of this story, we know that to be John the Baptist, who went before Yeshua to prepare his way. And this usually happens in like the middle of the night. So the bride and everybody has an idea of about when it's going to happen, but they don't know the exact day. So the bridesmaids are supposed to be ready so that they can give the they can go and warn the bride that the groom is coming so that she can be ready. So when they heard the messenger, they were supposed to be able to get up and use their lamps to light their way back to the bride, to tell her that he's coming, so she could get ready. And then they would go before her, like it was a processional. So she would be in this carriage, like kind of being carried to the house, and people would go before her singing and dancing, and just being merry, because it's a wedding, a celebration. So these bridesmaids weren't ready and didn't have oil in their lamps. So the first thing I did to try to to understand this was look at the context of the passage. So let's go to Matthew 24, and we're going to go to verse 42. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. And 44. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over all his house, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is the servant whom is his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So in this parable, we see the same, or this story, we see the same elements, right? We see a faithful and wise servant, like the wise bridesmaids. We see the delay in his coming. And so we see these parallels. So there's another version of this story in Luke, and let's see, Luke 12, it's right here, and verse 35. Let your loins be girded about and your lights burning. So now we have lights burning, as in the lights of the lamps. And verse 37 says, blessed are those servants whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find watching. Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself and make them to sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them. And then if we go to 42, it says, and the Lord said, who then is the faithful and wise steward, whom his Lord shall make ruler over his household? So we see that this is the same parable, but he introduces it with let your loins be girded about and your lights burning as a sign of your preparation. So this tied it together for me. So I want to go back to Matthew 25 and look at another parable that we have here, the parable of the flock. And we're going to start at verse 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, the goats on his left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, basically, Lord, when did we do all these things for you? And 40 says, and the king shall answer and say unto them, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of my brethren, you have done it to me. Then shall he say unto them on the left hand, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, to prepare for the devil and his angels. Then he goes on to say that they didn't do all of these things for him. And they ask when. And he says, 45, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not for the least of one of these, you did it not to me. And they go into everlasting punishment. So here we start to see a common denominator form between what's happening. So in the first one, the people that he left in charge, they didn't feed his household. And when he started to delay, when they saw that he was delayed, it said he beat the servants and started drinking and eating with the drunken. And here we see them neglecting the people that are in need. So denominator of this common denominator of not treating your brother the way that God said to treat them, love your brother or your neighbor as yourself. This is the common denominator. Now, this parable actually comes from Ezekiel, and this is Ezekiel 34. And beginning with verse 1. And the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim unto the shepherds, Woe to the shepherds of Israel that do feed themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flocks? Ye eat the fat, and ye clothe yourselves with the wool. Ye kill them that are fed, but ye feed not the flock. The disease have ye not strengthened, neither have ye healed that which was sick, neither have ye bound up that which was broken, neither have ye brought again that which was driven away, neither have ye sought that which was lost, but with force and with cruelty have ye ruled over them. So in this one, we see that the shepherds of Israel, or the leaders of Israel, are the people that are being addressed as mistreating the flock. And verse 9 reads, Therefore are you shepherds, hear the word of Yahuwah. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, Behold, I am against the shepherds, and I will require my flock at their hand. And that's life for a life. And cause them to cease from feeding the flock, neither shall the shepherds feed themselves any more. For I will deliver my flock from their mouth, that they may not be meat for them. So we see now that the shepherds were devouring the flock. So if we go down to 17, he now addresses the flock. And as for you, O my flock, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, Behold, I judge between cattle and cattle, between the rams and the he-goats. Seemeth it a small thing to you that you have eaten up the good pasture, but ye must tread down with your feet the residue of your pastures, and to have drunk of the deep waters, but you must foul the residue with your feet. And as for my flock, they eat that which ye have trodden with your feet, and they drink that which ye have fouled with your feet. Therefore, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim unto them, Behold, I will judge between the fat cattle and between the lean cattle. So we see now that everybody is being judged. The wicked shepherds who devoured the flock and didn't do what they were supposed to, and the wicked of the flock who took advantage of the other flock. So they not only did they eat and drink first and eat and drink the best in all that they wanted, but then they fouled the rest with their feet so that nobody else could have anything. So again, this is about ill treatment of your brethren. So if we go to Matthew 13, and this is the parable of the wheat and the tares that we saw in the previous study. In verse 43, it reads, Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who hath an ear, let him hear. So now we see the righteous, which are the ones who treated their brothers well. They shine forth like the sun. So we see the light again. And finally, if we go to Matthew 5 and 14, it reads, Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So we see the light in the house giving light to everyone. Just like he put his servants over the house to give meat to everyone. And then we see the light shining so that people can see your good works, which is what those parables was about. So this is a warning that mistreating others is going to, it can get you kicked out of the kingdom, especially, your neighbors and your brothers. It says love your neighbor as yourself. So the last one I want to look at is in Matthew 25 again, and it's the parable of the talents. 14. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made other 5 talents. And likewise he that received 2, he also gained other 2. But he that received 1 talent digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. After a long time, the Lord of those servants came and reckoneth with them. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. His Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord. So he did the same thing with the one who had 2 talents. So 24, then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, thou hast that is thine. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gathereth where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. Therefore take the talent from him, and give it unto him which have 10 talents. For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So in this one, we see at the beginning that he assigned the servants work according to their several abilities. So he didn't burden them with something that they couldn't handle, and have these unreasonable expectations. He gave them what they could handle. Now, the wicked, lazy servant didn't want to do anything. So he thought up an excuse that he was going to use to get him out of not doing anything. And whether that excuse that, his Lord reaps where he hasn't sown, and gathers where he hasn't strawed, whether that's true or not, the Lord reverses that and judges him based on what he has said. He says to him, well, you knew that I was hard and did all these things. So at the very least, you should have taken my money to the bank so that I would have had interest on my money. So that just goes to show you, one, if God gives you something, he gives you something that he knows that you can handle. And he expects for you to bear fruit with what he has given you. He expects for you to have some type of increase. And the second thing is that there is no excuse that you're going to come up with that's going to get you out of what he has told you to do. So it's better to just go ahead and be obedient and hearken unto his voice. So with that, thank you again for joining me. Feel free to drop any comments, concerns, agreements, or disagreements in the comment section below. I hope that this study has blessed you and inspired you to search further into Yah's word. May Yahuwah bless you and keep you. May Yahuwah shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.